From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Go ahead, use that promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source if you're not already a member of the WarChant.com family. Also, please follow us on social media, but even more importantly, so you know, subscribe to the podcast, rate, review. How many stars, Corey?
5, and more than 5 if you can figure out a way to do that, but definitely 5.
That'd be awesome. We're on the road right now. Here I am. You want to just talk on the road? I'll just serenade us.
Oh, you're doing Seeger. I wasn't sure what song you were singing.
You've been on I-10 a bunch lately. How do you like this stretch of National Interstate?
I'm not a huge fan of I-10. This is all right. There's some stuff to look at because we're just now leaving Jacksonville.
Yes.
But once
River
we get
City.
past the Busy Bee, we still got the Busy Bee to look forward to. But once we get past that, it's a lot of darkness and just thoughts.
Yeah.
And I don't like my thoughts a lot, so I try to stay away from them as much as possible.
We don't know how long the show is going to go, but I have imposed an artificial deadline of when we arrive at the Busy Bee. The show's over.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Man, maybe we'll go inside. Maybe we can reach out and maybe get a business card, see if we can get the show sponsored by Busy Bee.
But yeah, the people need to know about Busy Bee.
I'd love to get sponsored. I mean, folks, it's just the best convenience store. There's everything you could imagine in there.
It's like a convenience mall. It's so much more than a store.
It's Whole Foods with a gas station attached to it almost.
Right, sure. And beef jerky, a lot of beef jerky.
Beef jerky, whole red velvet cakes.
Yeah.
Slushies, those weird woven Mexican poncho things, that people like, and all sorts of kitschy little gifts. But yeah, anyhow, we're coming back from Jacksonville because we were hanging out at the Top Golf location, which, speaking of sponsors, maybe we should also reach out to them. Your guy over here, Corey Clark, big fan of Top Golf.
I like that place a lot. That was a lot of fun.
You're going to go back there for like a birthday this weekend or something. Are you going to
not in Jacksonville,
everybody?
It'll be in Atlanta. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna make my debut voyage at a Top Golf to actually swing a club. That was I didn't really know much about them, but that thing was really neat.
It's super cool. That was a really good idea. Whoever in the boosters decided to move the locale there, good call. Willie also approves. It's Corey and I on the show today, as usual. Gene Williams, though, was also out there. So check out Word Chant, check out the Tribal Council. Lots of thoughts. Also a video from Corey and Gene, kind of sharing what they gleaned out of the comments that Willie made. I wrote a whole bunch of notes from his speech. I kind of joked. I'm like, what is he really going to say? But he said a lot, man.
Let's hear it. Go through them.
You want me to go through all my notes? Or you want to get to your? Well, before we get to the notes, can we just say how beloved? I shouldn't say beloved. That sounds arrogant. How much we appreciate everybody that came up and said hi to us on Tuesday night. It was super cool. A lot of fans of the show out there. Michelle, John, Linda, Donnie, Eric, and Billy.
Okay.
Those are all the names that I got. Every time I shook their hand, I made sure I typed it in my phone so I would remember, because I'm terrible at remembering names. But we love you all. Thanks for listening to the show.
I don't think you said Todd, but there was a Todd also. But I also wanted to say, shout out to all the people that obviously are big fans of ours, but were too intimidated to come speak to us.
Right.
Because we know that happens a lot too. So you guys, next time you see us, don't be afraid. Be like Linda. Linda came up and talked to us.
Yeah.
We're normal people. I mean, we're worldwide. We're pretty famous, but other than that, we're pretty normal folks. So come up and say hello. But yeah, that was really nice. It always is. And the thing I appreciate is I know there are people out there that probably hate listening to this, or don't like me that much, or don't like you that much. Well, we know that's a fact. But nobody ever comes up and says, hey, man, I think you kind of suck on that show. I don't like it at all. Like, I appreciate people like that keeping their opinions to themselves, because nobody needs to hear that.
Right.
So I appreciate all the folks that knew who we were, don't like us at all, but didn't feel the need to tell us about it.
I saw somebody at the baseball game the other day that shook my hand and said he listens to the show every day, and he's like, but
Uh-oh. Here we go.
It shouldn't be from Cali to Tally, because the show intro is like,
right,
from Cali to Tally. He's like, it should be Tally to Cali, which I think is actually right. I guess.
But
right,
we've already recorded that spot, right?
Well, so. I can reach out to some people and change it. So I guess we'll do that because I guess our day starts before.
Yeah, because basically we are in Tally.
Yeah.
And we go
But I was saying, like, I mean, since they're 3 hours behind us.
I got you, man.
I don't know.
We're
overthinking it, right?
We're in the weeds.
Let me go into the notes.
Okay.
So, I think there was what he said at the end. I think everything kind of almost built up to that point. And folks, hang tight because I do think we'll have a lot to say about some of the comments that Willie did have at it. First off, I guess before I keep saying first off, he seemed to be much more relaxed and at ease. I went to a couple of these booster things last year, and I don't want to say he wasn't tense or less gregarious, but he just felt much, which is crazy because last year it was total honeymoon.
Yeah.
Him selling belief, everybody buying it, full lock, stock, and barrel. And he's coming off a 5-7 season. Nothing really went well. Recruiting season wasn't the most overwhelming success. So there's not a lot that he can really bring to you and sell you on, but he seems so at ease. The people there, one guy even came out and started off his question like, Coach, I just want you, some guy that was probably in his mid-60s, white guy. Coach, just want to let you know that I'm so happy that you're our head football coach. So people are still on board. I thought that was really good. But just to see him kind of relax, I filmed, I took a couple shots of you and Gene talking to Willie after he got done speaking to us and the media as a whole.
Right.
And, it was just kind of cool to see him banter and be relaxed. I've never seen him so just sort of at ease having to be the head coach of Florida State ever since he took this job.
Well, yeah. I mean, he certainly, I don't know what he was expecting. I assume that's about how he expects it to go. It went about 30 minutes, I think, from the 15 minutes where him and Deckerhoff, Gene, an MC, my man, he just gets after it.
Touchdown, come a veteran, touchdown.
Like, he legitimately, folks, I know a lot of you probably haven't been to one of these. Look, Deckerhoff is a great ambassador for Florida State, has been doing it forever.
We're going to put the total leather here in 137 days.
But what he does, which is funny, I've never even heard of another announcer doing this, but they might, is while he, as he's setting up the whole program, he starts like,
Scott Bentley coming out to kick the field goal against Nebraska in the Orange Bowl.
Reimagining his famous calls in Florida State history, like Ward to Dunn and Bentley kicking the field goal and Jameis Winston to Benjamin. They don't show replays on the screen. It's Gene
just talking,
like reliving, re-announcing those plays. It's he loves being around people, and he loves Florida State so much. It's something to behold. It really is. So just go out for Gene, if nothing else. But then Taggart, yeah, man, he made jokes. He's like, I don't want to talk about. I want to forget all about 2018, and everybody laughed and cheered about that. And somebody asked him why there weren't any more penalties in the spring game when they led the nation last year, and he's like, well, we took the officials out to eat.
Yeah.
So he was just, it wasn't. Now he had substance to what he was saying,
definitely.
but it wasn't completely serious, and it certainly wasn't like disconnected or disengaged. Like, he really was engaged and seemed to enjoy the experience.
Yeah. All right. So some of the comments now. I mean, I took a whole bunch, and stop me when you would like to, as always, Corey.
Okay.
Big questions obviously about the offense doing well. Mentioned that Kendall, he thought, has a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. If we ever get to talk to Kendall Browse, maybe we can ask him about.
Yeah, what's that chip about?
What's that all about? And he said that he thought that was good because a lot of people in that locker room now also have a chip on their shoulder, obviously, after what happened last year. So he thinks that's obviously a good marriage. Mentioned the fact that they don't have a playbook. And to some people, that's common knowledge. To me, I saw people mentioning on the message boards here in the last few weeks. But to hear Willie come out and say that when he had plenty of time to mention that to us during spring, and he didn't, that caught me off guard. And he said that he himself was hesitant at first when Kendall's like, yeah, we don't do playbooks, man. That's not how I roll.
Right.
But it obviously, the proof was in the pudding, as you said, in the spring game. It came out pretty well. One of the other things he liked about Kendall was the fact that he thought that Kendall made sure that the offensive staff was all on the same page before they actually started deploying things, installing things, and getting their hands on the actual players. So there was kind of a concerted effort to get all those ducks in a row before we're going to, almost like proofreading your story before you give it to Ira for final edit, right? Maybe going through my video 2 or 3 more times before I actually unleash it on the public. So the fact that, Kendall has a good idea of what he wants to do, made sure that everybody was on board. And you can say, well, he's got his offensive line coach. They've been around forever. There's not a lot to convey. Well, you still got a guy like Ron Dugans who's new, that he's never worked with. And then obviously Dante Pimpleton and Telly Lockett are guys that have been with Willie at numerous different stops. So the fact that he had to get them on board, and I mean, maybe they were more likely to fall in line now that, everyone's back to a certain degrees against the wall. But I thought that was interesting that he said that. Very impressed, he said, with Marvin Wilson, especially the fact that he didn't miss any practice, which I think that it's such an easy thing to probably overlook, man. But when you're going into your money year, you had a knee injury the previous spring, you could maybe ask the guys to shut it down for a day or two. You could probably be like, Coach,
yeah, sure.
But he never did that, so that was something that caught him. It was a pleasant sort of development for him. Big on all the freshmen, said that he thinks each of those kids will help us in the fall. Jaleel McCray in the coach's office so much. Willie, as Corey mentioned, joking here and there, made fun of the fact that Jaleel McCray was up in the coach's offices so much that he almost wondered if he's ever been to class.
Yeah.
He is. He's academically eligible. Everything's all right. Moving Hamza to star, that was one of the questions that came from the crowd. Basically, you mixed in a lot of new things. You moved guys around. What did you think about that? Moving Hamza to star moves him closer to the line of scrimmage, closer to the ball, makes him that much more effective as a tackler, the way he can move. Overall, says defensively, we are a lot faster. You want me to keep going with my notes, or do you want to interrupt at any point?
I did want to say, though, about the McCray thing. He talked about, to me, the overriding arc of this, the narrative, is that when he talked about McCray and being in the coach's office so much, he said, that's
comfortability.
But that's also how you change a culture.
Yeah.
You have kids that care, that really care enough to be that dedicated that early in their careers. And he said it's so much so that he thought it had an effect on the older guys. And they kind of took their lead from something like that. And I really do, again, it's what any coach would say about a recruiting class. It's not, they're never gonna just be dismissive of a class and say, I don't know, a couple of these guys can play, but we struck out on most of these guys. But I do think that he really believes that this kind of recruiting class is something that can change a culture because of the Jaleel McCrays who do that, the Akeem Dent, who he can't say enough positive things about, because they came in not just athletically gifted, but ready to compete mentally. Like they weren't overwhelmed. They wanted to learn. They're in a race to learn as much as they can, and that really can seep through a program. And usually it's supposed to come top down, where like the things that the seniors do kind of seep down to the freshmen. Well, man,
it's a blank canvas, right? The culture there. I mean, who's really established?
None of these seniors have done enough to. I don't know that you, especially last year, you didn't want a lot of those guys to have anything seeping down really. So maybe it seeps from the bottom up somehow. That's got to be a record for the most time somebody said seep
on a
sports
podcast
in a 45-second stretch. So I just thought that was really interesting, and he brought that up, and that's kind of what I wrote about was how everything is different this year. He joked he didn't want to talk about last year, but there are differences, and he said that. And I think the culture and getting kids that really buy in, that matters. I know it's coach speak. I know you still need the Jimmies and Joes and all that, but you got to have guys that you can trust, that play hard, and that have a positive impact on their teammates. And I do think he believes most of this, at least all the guys that have already here, all those freshmen.
Dante Lucas also in the mix
they fit that mold. They fit that category.
DJ Matthews as well. He was there since that's his home. I think part of this spring booster tour, Gene was conveying to you on the stand-up wrap-up that you guys did at Top Golf, was that even on Thursday when he'll be in Panama City Beach, sounds like Janarius and Keyshawn Helton will be out there. So he kind of wants to bring the people who are from that area to, show the boosters where their money's going to, who the ambassadors of the program are. But DJ Matthews is another guy that he pointed out, just more being around the coach's office more, being in the film room more. It matters more to him. Not that it didn't matter last year, but it matters more to him this time around. So obviously the culture, we'll see how it shakes out when the live bullets are going at him. But right now is developing at a really good pace that he likes. Mentioned quarterbacks, huge improvements from all of them from day one. Call James Blackman the ultimate leader, the ultimate team player. Taking more ownership, holding guys accountable. Obviously, I don't know how much that you really can do when you're a backup. Which,
right.
He's obviously, coach has said that, and the player said that he's been the same guy since, day one that he is then. But I'm sure there's certain moments where he knows he's got to kind of back off and, let a guy like maybe Francois do what he's going to do because he's a starting quarterback, but no longer the case, obviously. Mentioned that Alex Honerbrook, transfer coming down from Wisconsin, good quarterback, winning quarterback, ultimately feels really good about our quarterback situation going to the fall. That's an actual quote. Now, here's where I don't want to say he loses me, but this is where the disconnect is between myself and the overall arching theme of Willie and Lethal Simplicity and his philosophy. Basically, Kendall is going to script plays. They're going to script out a lot of what they're going to run. Lots of teams do it. They'll script the first 15 plays, 10 plays, 20 plays of a game. And then from there, you obviously are going to kind of pivot off what you have. But I don't know how much of it's going to be scripted, but obviously it seems like a lot of it is going to be. Mainly because Kendall told him, listen, you can't go fast if you have to look down at a play sheet.
Right.
So it's like, get 6 yards, 4 or 5 yards on first down, line up again, look at me, and, I'll let James know what the play is. Ron will probably signal something and let know the receivers know what their routes are. Running backs will look at, Dante and know what pass pro is going to be on, that sort of thing. It's impressive to see in action, he said. We saw it at the spring game. You all saw it at the spring game. But the part here said is that the players have math and science. It's tough. We don't need football to be that tough. We should make it like backyard football. Hey, you go there. You go there. James, you throw it there. And that's... I understand it. I get it. Lethal Simplicity. Make your athletes not be, no paralysis by analysis. He's not the only coach that does it. I think to a certain degree, that's what Hugh Freeze did at Ole Miss. That's what Gus Malzahn did at Auburn. Both of them have beaten Alabama. They've been to New Year's Six Bowls. They've played for national championships, both of those coaches. It can work. I guess that's just something I have to... It'd be great if your boss shows up and is like, listen, everybody, I want to make everybody's job easier. That's what I'm going to increase all of our productivity by making everything easier. And I understand that, but there are just certain things that there needs to be multiplicity, there needs to be sophistication. Not that isn't in this sort of offense that they're running, but it sounds really good. I get it, but it sounds too good to be true. Like, we're just going to make it super easy, and we're going to let our athletes out-athlete the other guy, or we're just going to be able to make more plays that way. Yeah, I think maybe when you're evenly matched, maybe when it's, you have a little bit of a talent discrepancy possibly, but is that the way you're going to outfox Clemson? Is that the way you're going to outfox Florida in the swamp? I hope so, but again, I think that the two things that I think are Willie's MO, which is I have to maybe get used to, obviously, because he's got the job and, he's not going anywhere for the time being, is that he is really big on making these guys want to play for him and the coaching staff. It's really important for him not to be liked, but for the players just to feel a sort of almost like you're playing for your dad. Like you never want to hear your dad say he's disappointed in you, right? Like, it's okay if your parents get mad at you, but when your parents are like, I'm disappointed in you, that's the ultimate jab, right? He wants these guys to be so invested in him and what he's doing, and he wants to defend them and love them up and everything that, like, damn it, it's 3rd and 3, man. We're getting this. Like, we're not getting pushed back. We're getting 4 yards on this. We don't want to let him down. It's the emotional aspect, and then we're going to make it really super easy and streamline everything down. Like, I think that can work at a lot of places. I just don't know if it can work at the highest rung of Division I college football, man. He got 10 wins at USF. I think he's going to get more than 5 wins this year. I don't know if you ultimately are going to go 14-1 and win a national title if you're just.
But
if
I guess my counter to that would be I mean, Baylor won a ton of games.
In a conference that...
But I'm saying it did. That was a high rung of football. Like, weren't they close to being in a playoff one year? And didn't they go 12-2 one year? I mean, they've won 11, 12 games with this offense.
But they didn't play teams that played a lot of good defense.
Sure, agreed. I would say I thought when he said that, I thought he was saying it more tongue-in-cheek. Like, yeah, we kind of just basically get in the huddle and say, hey, you go here, you go here, you go here. Now, obviously, that isn't the case.
Right.
They don't get in the huddle. They don't huddle at all. So I thought that was being tongue-in-cheek. But
he wants it.
Yeah, they want it fast and they want it simple. But, we'll see. I mean, it certainly looked better than it did last year. That spring game. It certainly did. They seemed to know what they were doing. And, we'll see how easy they are to self-scout. I mean, if you don't have I can't imagine how many different plays you're running off that you can run quickly.
Yeah.
But we'll see how easy they are to scout for other teams starting in week 2 or week 3. But yeah, man, I don't. We'll see. I think he thinks that the offense is going to be a lot better. He seems very confident about that, and it couldn't be worse unless they just punted every first down. But yeah, I think it's kind of a wait and see when it comes to that. But I wouldn't just say you can't win at a high level because of that. Because again, you mentioned Auburn. What were they? 11 seconds from winning a national championship?
Yeah.
I mean, you can win at that level. You just have to rep it and be awesome at it. And most importantly, you have to be able to block it up. You have to.
Right.
Doesn't matter what. You can run backyard plays. Or you could have a page book that's as big as, you could have a playbook that's like the size of a phone book. It doesn't matter if you can't block it up.
Yeah. I mean, the same thing applies for, Jimbo's best offenses obviously were stacked with talent, right? 13 and 14 were stacked with talent. Like, yeah, you're going to go fast and out-athlete people and go really fast. Yeah, if you got 3 Tamori and Terrys out there and you've got 5 great offensive linemen and you got a really good quarterback and you've got a defense that's going to get you 3 and outs, absolutely. But I guess my fear is just I don't know how much margin for error you have when, because these things, every offense runs into hiccups. Like even the most effective pro-style offense, although, 2013 was just, I think 2013 just ruined everything. It ruined everything.
Yeah,
that's
everybody. But it's not normal. It's not normal for, again, I think they set a record. They scored 94 touchdowns in a season, 94.
Playing in the ACC, playing against Clemson and Miami.
But also they did it at such a slow pace.
Not Notre Dame.
That it doesn't even compute. It does. Sorry, everyone. That was my
Corey
girlfriend.
Just hung up on his girlfriend.
My girlfriend
to talk
calling.
to you guys. In April about football. I don't want to hear anything again.
So yeah, she's. Let's see how quickly she calls back. I feel like she's going to text and say you just hung up on me. But yeah, that 2013 season is such an anomaly. Not just for Jimbo, but just for sports. Teams that go that slow don't ever score that much. Yeah. They must have scored touchdown. Jameis Winston led offense, not counting the second half when the games were over. They must have scored touchdowns on 60% of their drives, or something ridiculous. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute how good that offense was.
I feel like every time he dropped back,
she said, "Thanks for hanging up." Should I type back, "You're welcome"?
Don't do that.
Don't bother me. I'm in the middle of a show.
Don't hit your horn. People are going to want to... Actually, there's nobody ahead of us.
Yeah,
gosh,
that's why I did
this is such a dark, lonely stretch of pavement, brother.
I told you, just trying to keep us awake and alive.
Or asphalt or whatever. But I just feel like every time he dropped back, it was like something good was going to happen.
Yeah.
First down, touchdown, or pass interference.
That was a perfect storm of NFL-type wide receivers, a bunch of guys that play in the NFL on the offensive line.
Yeah. Again, we need
good running backs and an all-time great quarterback.
Aslan needs to understand.
And a good coach, a good coordinator.
Yeah. Aslan needs to understand that we're going to have to crawl before we can walk. So, let's go fast, let's go simple. Let's win 8, 9 games.
And again, I think, I guess it burned us last year because we kept saying, look, Taggart's done this before. This isn't his first rodeo. If people heard that my car beeps when I don't have my hand on the steering wheel. So,
oh, look at that. It cares that much about you.
Yeah, it really does. It doesn't beep when I'm looking down at my phone, but I guess we're not to that technology yet.
Corey uses the GPS on his phone. He just leaves the phone in his lap and just looks down at his lap instead of putting it like maybe next to a speedometer, tachometer.
Well, no, we're not going to do that. But last year we kept saying how Willie's done this before. You got to trust him. Yeah. You would use that same logic with Bryles, right? This guy has scored a ton of points everywhere he's been. There's no reason to think it won't work here, but nothing's been proven yet. We'll see. So I get trepidation. I get skepticism, a healthy skepticism. That's what you are. You're a skeptic. But yeah, I just think what we saw, like I said in the video that's on warchant.com right now, we haven't seen all the pudding, but we saw enough proof, I think, in the spring game to be encouraged. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
Not all the proof is in the pudding because we haven't had all the pudding yet. I've never been a pudding guy.
Oh, you don't like tapioca?
And I also don't understand that saying at all. The proof is in the pudding. What would that even, like, people are like, look, that looks like the worst dessert I've ever seen. That looks disgusting. I'm not going to put that in my mouth.
Yeah.
No, it tastes great. No, it doesn't. Well, the proof's right there.
Right.
In the pudding.
Yeah.
That's just a stupid saying, like skinning a cat. There are a million ways, a lot of different ways to skin a cat, whatever that saying is. That makes more sense.
More than one way to skin a cat.
That makes more sense than the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the cabbage.
We're doing our linguistics again.
The proof is in the watermelon or the steak.
Ooh, I haven't had a good piece of watermelon in too long.
Never been a watermelon guy.
Really?
A watermelon guy.
Watermelon's the best, man. Yeah, I'm bullish on the offense. I believe Kendall Bryles is going to find a way to score 30 points.
So if you're bullish on the
Saturday.
offense, you got to assume it's at least 2 or 3 more wins, at least.
Oh yeah,
right?
no, dude, I'm like on record here, 8-9 wins. It's just the guy that was like, sunshine, yeah, I bet you're going to win 10 games. I'm like, all right. He's like, if they win 9 games or more, I'm like, whoa, you said 10, champ.
Yeah.
The whole bet thing. Yeah, no, the offense is going to be better. I think James Blackman, I'm kind of trying to lower the bar on him a little bit because I like him and I want to see him do well. And I know once he throws his first interception or goes 3 and out, everyone's going to be like, I told you he wasn't good. We should have known this in 2017, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, because there's people on the message boards that think that Jordan Travis should be every bit in the mix to start against Boise.
Our Hornswoggle.
Yeah.
We don't even know, and again, Willie said again on Tuesday, we don't even know when Jordan Travis will be deemed eligible. Right.
But he's capable. I think that's a good thing. I think Jordan Travis, I've been starting to archive all the video that we shot during spring. I got way more clips of him than I remember throwing. I mean, nothing that looks, he's just, his delivery and the velocity on the ball does not look, it doesn't catch your eye. You don't say like, well, wow. And, which is a really lazy way to probably scout a quarterback, but I'm watching them throw against air. So
right. Yeah, we do what we can.
Yeah, what else am I going to judge based on? I'm totally bullish on the offense. I just wonder like how many Kendall Bryles grow on trees. Because when he leaves in 2 or 3 years, the whole concept that I've floated out there, and I'm not trying to take it away from you. Maybe you were every bit as involved in putting it out there. Just that I believe, obviously to a certain extent, this is to stop the bleeding, get this thing turned around quickly by getting a guy like Kendall Bryles here. And then by the time he does leave, hopefully this is back to 10 wins in a row, maybe 2 years in a row, or 10 wins in a season 2 years in a row. And then when Kendall does go somewhere, that Willie's got this recruiting thing rolling enough that there's enough talent that where if he goes back to calling plays or if he brings in somebody else that's obviously not the caliber of Kendall Bryles, that this thing will be able to continue to keep going. And in that vein, that was probably one of the more interesting things he said as I go through my notes, and I guess we'll jump to that part of it because I don't think we're that far away from the busy beat.
Well, I think we got about a half hour.
Really?
Maybe we don't do this show for a half hour.
Yeah, I don't have to do that. Ego versus instinct. I thought that was a very revealing comment.
Yeah. You want me to talk about that?
Yeah, you go.
Oh, okay. I feel like you've talked more on this show than you normally do. Maybe it's because you're in the passenger seat. Yeah. I'm driving. You feel like you gotta. I'm the driver. You're the guy that's commenting.
Yeah, that's how I usually drive. But now, all right, it's cool.
I'm literally the driver. Yeah. So he said that last year, somebody asked him what the benefit was. A fan asked him the benefit of giving up the play calling and how that affects his day to day. Essentially, how that changes things for him. And he said, look, it lets him be a part of the whole team again. He's not so focused on offense. He spent a lot of time on the defense with the defense this spring, explaining why offenses do certain things. He said he really enjoyed that, and he also just liked being there for the whole team.
Also thinks that the team last year needed him to.
That's what I was getting to. Before you rudely interrupted me.
I screwed that all up.
That was crazy. Yeah, he said that last year, in hindsight, that's what the team needed him to be last year. And he thought because of his ego, he said his first instinct was he needed to give up the offense and the play calling before last year. And I assume he means to Walt Bell, but I don't know. Maybe he meant
the great Walt Bell.
Maybe he even meant I would have made a different hire if I knew I wasn't going to be the OC and calling the play.
Every time he mentions these things, he's doing it very diplomatically. I don't think he's ever thrown any shade at Walt Bell. But when he says things about, Kendall made sure that the whole offensive staff was together and cohesive before he started, doing X, Y, and Z, I do wonder if that's what did he what? How can you screw it up? You don't have to call plays, Walt. If I was the video guy, I never had to film video.
Right.
Just bring the camera every day, Aslan. Make sure you bring the camera and it's got fully charged batteries.
Well, we don't know quite what his duties were.
We don't.
But from week to week, from day to day, as far as devising a game plan, a strategy, all that. But so Willie said that in hindsight, he wishes he'd have given up all the offense stuff last year and been just the head coach and focused on the big picture and the team, trying to change the culture, all that stuff that goes into being a head coach. And he said what happened was his ego got in the way because he had done it at every other stop. He had been the offensive guy. He'd been the offensive coordinator, essentially. And so his ego got in the way and was like, I'm going to do it here too, even though his instinct was telling him, no, man, this doesn't seem right. You might want to peel back and let somebody else do this. He still stuck it out and was the OC, essentially. And, he regrets that. He says that was one of his big mistakes. And if he had to do it over again, he even said, if I could go back to the beginning, I would have done that last year. I would have given up all the play calling duties and all the offensive duties to someone else, which we assume is Walt Bell. And yeah, again, that's somebody that looked in the mirror, had to. I mean, look, you can't go 5-7 and not look in the mirror and think everything's okay. But he realized it, and at least from what he's telling us, thinks he should have done it last year, and that was a mistake. And maybe things do work out differently last year if he's not the guy calling the plays. Maybe he was spread too thin.
The crazy thing is, I figured he would have been humbled by what happened to him at South Florida. I mean, he went into that season,
right,
on the hot seat, if you will, and things didn't get off to a good start. And then they had the whole bye. I think the game before the bye week, they went no huddle and they did well. And then during the bye week, they kind of decided to change course, and that changed the whole trajectory of USF and Willie Taggart's career. It's crazy to hear him say that now, and it takes a lot to admit that. I mean, I know it was a booster function. It wasn't him on ESPN. That we weren't allowed to film the program or whatever. It doesn't bother me. I'm just pointing that out. But for a guy that literally the day before spring camp opened, the first year, he sits there and he's like, "Oh nope, I'm calling the plays." I mean, the way he said it was like, "Yeah, hey, let's not even go there. Like, this is, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna have it. I got this.
Right.
And for it to go the way it did,
I think he had no. And Iron's made this point before. He had no idea kind of what he was walking into, and it goes even as far back as July when we were at the ACC kickoff, and he talked about, he used the word turds, and he said, "I figured we'd have a bunch of turds on this team, and we don't." Well, you were wrong, man. You were wrong. Yeah. And turds can be different ways. Like, I don't mean like criminals or people necessarily that you don't want to, be in your house or be in your life even. But maybe they aren't the best people in a locker room, and they can infect the locker room in a negative way.
Personally, I don't want turds in my life in any aspect.
But that's in any aspect. Well, I mean, you have to have it in some aspect. I mean, to live, you don't want to get
the
too
metaphorical.
Sure.
The metaphorical.
So that's probably a good point. Yeah, but it's just not what you. But I hesitate in calling. He might have been. I guess my point was he might have been right in that they weren't turds.
Yeah.
By the traditional sense of the word.
Well, they didn't play for the University of Florida, so
exactly.
By definition.
True. So, but that doesn't mean they were good for your team.
Correct.
They weren't good for your program, and he had some of those kids, and you think he got rid of. We know some of them have moved on, but who knows if there are any left? And what there will how much of the guys that were recruited by Jimbo versus the guys that have been recruited by Willie, because now it's about half and half, I would think, or maybe even more Willie guys. If there is I don't think there'll be a tug. I don't think there'll be a tug of war like this is how we used to do it. I think you got to hope that the Jimbo guys are all on board with the Willie guys, and they're all just Florida State Seminoles now. That's the hope, right?
Definitely.
And that's certainly what he's hoping, and I think he just thinks that he just didn't quite understand, I don't think, to the depths that maybe that locker room had fractured isn't the right word, but just, I don't know, delved into madness. Because they weren't, there was a different kind of kid that was in that locker room that they had to be built back up. And they had to learn how to win again, they had to learn how to compete again, they had to learn how to, everything. And or not even again, like some of them had to learn it for the first time, they had never done it. But there was a sense of entitlement in that locker room that I don't think he quite understood and grasped until he lived through it. And he made that point again today. He made that point saying, I know the team now. He did not know the team even after a spring.
He won 7 games at Oregon and didn't know the team either,
Oh, no, for sure. Well, yeah, nobody's saying that that Willie doesn't deserve some of the blame for what happened. He deserves to play. It's his team. But I just don't, you can't really know your team even in the spring. Like last year, through the spring.
Oh.
I don't think he knew his team, really.
Fair,
you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Once you see them implode in the Carrier Dome, that's when you get a sense of who your team is. And which of these guys is going to fight? Which of these is only going to fight when they're down 50 points to Clemson? That's what he learned last year with that football team.
It's almost unfair, and I don't take pleasure in bringing these sort of things back up. Actually, I'm being too hard. No, it's not that. That's the thing. This is the thing. It's just I feel like I have to walk on eggshells because there's people that are always waiting to pounce about me being anti-Willie or negative on Willie. But these are things that like he said and did, and he's doing the right thing. Obviously, I think the hires that he's made has shown that he knows what has to be done. The fact that he's going up in front of people, high-level donors. Ed Burr, Andy Miller is there.
That was a deer. That was a deer on the side of the road.
That was a big deer.
Aslan.
That was a big deer. We're getting close.
But you know what I have? I don't even know if they work. I really don't.
Like a whistler on
I have the deer whistles on my car. So maybe it worked with that deer.
Because it just stood there. It was waiting.
He didn't dart out at me.
Yeah, quietly. That's good.
Yeah.
But to get in front of those people and say, listen, my ego might have got the better of me. these are positive developments in taking account. You want to talk about, James Blackman taking more accountability of his teammates and that kind of stuff. Well, it's got to start at the top. And when your head coach is pointing out these, flaws that he has and the mistakes that he made, I think it's very refreshing because, to that point, when he comes in the first day before spring starts, his first, spring and kind of almost laughs at us for even suggesting that a guy that's going to get paid, $700,000 Bolt Bell? He's not going to call plays? That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I'll remember when we were kind of trying to figure out what they were going to do with the quarterback position thing and how he was going to handle DeAndre. He mentioned that he didn't care about what these kids did before he arrived, which it's somewhat noble. Listen, it's you don't care about what your wife did before she met you. You don't care what your husband really necessarily did before you met him. I guess that's probably a healthy way to kind of look at things sometimes, right? But there was proof in the pudding there with some of these guys, and you were whatever, it's fine. We're gonna start over for a clean slate. I don't care what happened before I got here. We're all back to square one. That was a miscalculation. Again, you can have miscalculations year one, coming in there, having to install everything new, having to try to rebuild the culture. 1 year wiser now, at least I am comforted, and I think most people should be assured that the proper changes have been made. And I think a lot of people saw it. If you watch the spring game, there was a lot of good stuff to take away from that. And I know it's just a spring game, but again, that looked much better than the year prior when we were kind of blinded by everything. And for him to be so forthright about everything that's happened and transpired since that last game against Florida, again, I think he sees the big picture and how things need to get fixed. And the silver lining, or maybe I don't know how to say it, but just get 7 wins this year and it's fine. We say that now, and it's going to suck when you go back and realize that you lost 5 games or you lose 6 games. Well, just get back into the bowl. I mean, the smallest sort of progress, I think, will feed into what he's trying to create, and then it's onward and upward. Hopefully, right?
Agreed with all that, Aslan. I just like driving, just sitting here.
Yeah, just listening to me ramble on.
No, I'm in my thoughts.
Here's a quote. I think our offensive line is going to be really good this year. Going to be better than it's been here for a while.
Did he say really good?
Yes, he said really good. I made sure.
I remember he said been better than it's been here for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah. He mentioned Minshew and Dickerson not even playing in the spring game, and I guess Minshew had neck surgery.
I want to see him in that operation graphic, right? Like him splayed out,
and everything he's
illustration.
had worked on.
Yeah, good grief.
I guess there's a chance that if they could just be average. We don't need really good. Florida State doesn't need really good or even pretty good. If they could just get average.
Or just slightly below average, like you said.
Yeah, just not abysmal, anemic, awful, any of those words.
Inept.
Inept, yeah. Man, there are deer everywhere on this road.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate test for these deer whistlers. I think a family member, a cousin, got it almost as a gag gift for me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, because I'm always driving at night, back roads in Georgia and Tallahassee and Florida. I need those things, and now they're getting a workout. And if we do hit a deer, if a deer slams into us, it will be on the podcast.
It will.
We will record it for eternity. So I don't even remember what I was. I don't
offensive
even know if I was
line,
saying
Coleman, Shoe.
Sure, yeah. So I think the offensive line, if it can just be average,
they've got bodies now.
They do have bodies, and I think they have some talent. I really do think some of them are talented. Again, if they and also I think they will. I think Briles and Clements work well enough together. It is Clements, right? Not Clements. Yeah.
Not like Roger and Colby.
Right, sure. I do think that they've worked long enough together that Clements would tell Briles, look, man.
2 exits, 283 and 301, both have a busy bee. I told you.
Yeah, that's weird, huh? I didn't know there was a second one. That I think they work well enough together that Clements would tell him, hey, man, we can't block this team for more than a couple seconds. So put that, like they would work well together to not just call plays blindly, thinking, okay, this time they're going to block it. I think they know they would communicate well enough together to know, okay, yeah, this is how we got to block it against this team because we can't do it. Just them knowing each other like that helps, and so that helps just on the front that Briles trusts Clements implicitly, and when he tells them we can't block these guys, that Briles will not try to just call the blind plays that he would call normally, not from a playbook, obviously. And so I think that helps, but I also think, they are a year older. They should be a year stronger. They should be a year better. And there are guys coming. There are enough new bodies coming in that they have real depth. And maybe in 2 years it's a strength of the team. Maybe.
Yeah, he developed All-Americans at Baylor. I mean, I think like almost a half dozen. And for whatever the Big 12 lacks, I mean, they do have big offensive linemen that are strong and end up making a good amount of money in the league. To maybe pivot off of that and go more towards a look to the future, you got Mike Arnold, Brady Scott, Cole Minshew, Dante Lucas. 2 of them. You just need 2 of those guys on a Saturday to be healthy and okay.
Right.
And I think you're good up the middle with Bavion, or maybe then you put Brady back at center if that needs to happen. Although I didn't see him play a lot. I didn't see him play any center at all. I thought that was the whole scout on him was he was grossly misplayed having to play tackle. He was probably going to be the center if Bavion couldn't get the snaps figured out, but he has. So you got Bavion at center. Baselli maybe is good enough. I mean, if he's got to be pressing the duty, but you've got, again, Dante Lucas, Cole Minshew, Mike Arnold, Brady Scott, 2 of those guys are your guards. I asked Willie before he had the program just about, has he seen anything at tackle? I mentioned Juwan. I'm like, Juwan, Chaz. Like, do you have enough there once Landon gets healthy to feel good about tackle? And he didn't say anything about Juwan, which is not a good thing, I don't think. But he did mention that Chaz Neal's a guy that has been improving steadily, even going back towards the end of last season. So Yeah, man. I mean, if Landon's okay, and maybe Chaz is obviously a work in progress, or Ryan Roberts, the grad transfer from Northern Illinois, has a swing to a couple spots. Like if 4/5 of your guys are healthy and in the right position for them to play in, I think you move out of the lower tier of horridness that they were plagued with in 2018. Like there are the bodies there now. There is the talent there, and there's going to be the synergy between Clements and Briles to figure out the best way to deploy those guys to get these plays to work. Because they James Blackman is going to have a good season, and I do feel good about him. The more I think about it, the more I've gone back and looked at the film that we've had. The more the things you hear about DJ talk about how much everyone's in his corner. Just Willie talking about him being an ultimate leader. We obviously know about Tamorian. By the way, young lady who works at the TV station in Jacksonville, trying to be really over Homer, talking to DJ about how good it feel to go out there and have 100 yards in the spring game and know that you can push for that number one receiving spot. Chill out.
It's crazy.
Chill
she
out.
Obviously didn't know who was in the room with her, because
relax.
As soon as she said that, I'm like, lady, come on. You got to know about 15. Do you not know about 15? Has that news not traveled to Jacksonville? Because he's taken over the city for sure. I feel like you gotta.
Just wait, August 31st.
Just recognize. Is it August? They play in August.
August 31st
is the first game.
136 days. If you're listening to this right now, because Deckerhoff kept saying I think 137.
That's August. So every time I write that the season begins in September, I'm incorrect.
Technically correct,
because
yes.
I've written that probably 10 times in the last month.
Ira, if you're listening to this, go back and edit all of Corey's
Please do,
stories.
because the season apparently does not start in September. Great.
Yeah.
Do we know when that game is going to be, by the way?
No, we don't know the kickoff time. Somebody asked them, and he didn't know. I mean,
he was also asked about the uniforms.
No, he was, and he gave the same answer that he gave to me when I asked him in the last practice before the spring game. White numbers, throwback unis. It was the guy who asked them actually came. He didn't give me his name, but he walked by me earlier and said that he listens to the show every day. Another loyal fan. We pull really well in Duval County, Corey. I wouldn't have thought we were. That might be our stronghold.
I think maybe even more so than Leon.
Yeah, let's go. I probably will be in Tampa for that booster stop. I wonder if people will recognize me in the 813-727. That's my home. That's my home turf.
I think you're recognizable now, buddy.
You got to win that.
I think you're recognizable.
You got to win those. But there was asked the way
Did
the guy.
I tell you I got recognized at a Braves game?
Yeah, you said that on the show yesterday. Yeah.
Oh,
Jeremy
that's right,
was
yeah.
the guy's name.
I don't.
You didn't know his name?
I said his name was Tyler.
Tyler. Okay, close.
But
Jeremy,
it could be
Tyler.
Jeremy. Yeah.
Close, Yeah, it was one of those. Anyhow, the guy asked a question, and he worded it really well. He's like, Coach, I hate to ask you about uniforms, but could we get a throwback, maybe jersey? What about white numbers? And are we all good with Phil Knight?
I didn't hear that last part.
And
That's
Willie
funny.
didn't have anything to mention about with Phil Knight. But Willie, his answer was very similar to when I asked him. Basically, he doesn't care what they wear.
As long as they win.
As long as they win. As long as we're happy.
The counter to that could be, well, hey, Willie, a lot of people do care. So whether you win or lose, at least wear the right thing. Yeah. But, it really doesn't matter.
I'm really
Just quit
hurt.
Wearing black.
I'm hurt that you didn't pick up on it because I thought it was somewhat wry of me and almost kind of bold. Like I was almost poking the bear because he was like, when I asked him, he was like, listen, man. He's like, I don't care. He's like, as long as it's garnet and gold. And I'm like, or black.
I heard that. That was funny. Yeah,
that was funny because it's like you do realize that you pretty much wore black.
Yeah.
As much as you wore garnet and gold last year, Coach.
Man, black's terrible. Don't wear black.
It's so ugly. So ugly. All right, that probably got somebody upset, and we'll blame them for ending the show. We're probably pretty close to the B right now, aren't we?
We got to be. We just crossed over 75. For the folks that are trying to keep pace, trying to figure out in their heads, picture in their heads where we are right now. We just went past the 75 I-10 interchange.
Yep.
So, we got to be really close to the busy B. And no Game of Thrones. We're not going to do the Game of Thrones thing.
Just Thrones'in It Out There?
Thrones'in It Out There. But honestly, because I've watched it, people, if you don't want to care about Game of Thrones, you can obviously turn it off right now.
Yeah.
We appreciate you listening, but I did get to watch it.
Okay, first off, I've got another impersonation I can add. I'm really nervous now.
Oh boy! All right, here we go. Oh yeah, clear the throat. Am I supposed to guess who it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to get it. It's pretty easy. Hopefully, it'll be easy to guess. I think just by what I'm going to say, not even so much my imitation of the person.
Right.
But golly, man, this is so. Khaleesi. Oh, no. Oh, I could do a really good Jorah the Andal, and I don't feel it right now.
Which one is he?
He's the one that's always with Daenerys.
The bearded one?
Yeah,
the bearded one's kind of in level. Oh, okay.
Khaleesi. Oh, I can't do it. I'm totally off now. I just lost.
I don't know what that is.
I was really good.
Try to do him saying banana.
Khaleesi. Oh, man. I was doing it so well the other day. But yeah, I could do a really good Jorah the Andal most of the time.
I mean,
I like the episode.
Incorrect and unproven. The proof is not in the pudding.
Correct. Have you read any of the books, or are you just strictly the TV show?
What, I look like some nerd?
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the same page. I'm just all about the TV show. All right, I don't care about any of the destiny of like Daenerys Targaryen and the Targaryen. Like my whole thing is the Starks. The Starks need to get their revenge. The Starks need to be back on top. That's all I really care about. The episode caught me off guard because I thought that they were just going to start throwing haymakers at us. Like I thought people were going to start dying of great importance.
That didn't happen at all.
But when you think about it, man, the table has been set up perfect.
Yeah.
Right? So Cersei's still just the absolute worst.
Right.
And she does have a baby. I've read a theory that they thought that maybe she wasn't pregnant after all, but it's clear that although she was drinking wine after her and Euron,
I don't feel like they had that knowledge back then, or whenever that was, that wine wasn't good for the baby.
Okay, well, that's one of the theories, that she really isn't pregnant because she was drinking wine.
She would never harm her baby by drinking wine, but I don't think they would know that.
Because of all of her flaws, she does love her children.
Sure.
That's what she's always
Not
said.
her family,
right?
Necessarily, but her children.
But so Euron and her consummate things, that gives her cover for when she does have a kid, perhaps, not admit that it's not another product of incest. So that has been somewhat buttoned up. She doesn't have her elephants. She's mad about that.
Right.
Got 20,000 sellswords. But I thought the way the episode's set up in terms of...
That reminded me a lot of the Austin Powers. Like, all I want is sharks with laser beams on their head. You can't give me elephants? You got all these animals and you can't give me elephants?
How about this? Who is going to end up being... So something's got to give between Sansa and Daenerys. Like, there's going to... I think Daenerys is the beginning of the end of her, at least her being looked upon as like a positive protagonist in the series. I think the wheels are in motion for that to blow up or quickly degrade here in the next episode or two.
Yeah, I think what we're supposed to be rooting for now is for Jon Snow to be the king. It's going to be his. And so then I guess the Starks would kind of get their revenge in a sense, in the way, because that's one of them, even though he's not really one of them.
He's got Stark blood.
Yeah, well, that's true, and he's got Targaryen blood, so it seems like he's the best. So it'll be. Didn't he have
Stargaryen?
Did he not have relations with what's her name, with Khaleesi? Didn't they have?
He did. Yeah, he did on the boat. On the boat, yeah.
Are they brother or sister or aunt?
That's his aunt.
That's his
aunt, yeah.
Oh, that's not. I get it. That's
not as gross.
No, it's not quite as gross.
We don't encourage that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's in that universe.
Right.
That's like nothing.
Yeah.
They all do that.
But no, I thought the coolest thing was, a lot of people talk about the reveal. The last time Lord Eddard, my guy.
I don't know who that is either. I don't know names.
Ned Stark. Come on, man.
His name
Stark.
is Lord Eddard?
His name is Eddard, but they call him Ned. Just like Brandon Stark, they call him Brand.
That kid, is he
what a weirdo, man. I don't like him. He's got...
I've never liked him. I've never liked that storyline, although I get it, but I've never liked it. And that guy as an actor is like, can he act? I don't know. He just stands there and stares at you weirdly. He just sits there. He gets carried around and sits there and says probably 38 words a season.
Just waiting for an old friend.
But I wonder if he gets paid the same as
of course.
Arya.
No, I'm sure, you've got different roles. I mean, the star of the show doesn't
I feel as long as Arya doesn't die.
Everybody loves Arya. And I'm the only...
All the other ones, I get it. But Arya, I don't want Arya to die.
I think she probably will.
Of course, I mean, it's Game of Thrones. I assume they all end up dying, and they just laugh at the end and say, I can't believe I watched this for a decade.
You know who I actually low-key really like? The Hound.
Well, I've
liked the Hound.
You got to suspend what he's done to everything else.
But think about what has he really... bad things he's done. What has he really done that's bad, though?
Didn't he kill that little boy in, the first episode?
On the orders of the king.
But he still killed a little boy.
But you have to follow orders.
If you don't follow orders, people die.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be on that wall?
He saved Sansa from getting raped. He saved Arya from, getting what knows happens in the woods when they were escaping. When you think about it, and he also helped, although he screwed up when they went to go get the whites by throwing the rock, and then they decided that they determined that the ice was solid enough for the rock to bounce so they could actually start running at. Because remember, they were stuck in the middle of that in the north of the wall.
Not really. I don't.
Well, the second to last episode of season 7 when they go to get the white walker.
Remember, you watched this like what, 2 weeks ago, a week ago? Yeah. I watched it. I feel like 6 years ago.
Okay.
I don't remember when it. I mean, hasn't it been like a year and a half since that stuff?
Well, they were on a standoff. Like the good guys were on that little island in the middle of the ice, and then they were on a standoff because the White Walkers and the Army of the Dead were scared to walk and pursue them because the ice was so thin and cracking that they were afraid they would fall into it. Well, the Hound picked up a stone to throw it at them, and when he threw it,
saw that it didn't break.
Yeah, it didn't break. I was like, oh, we can go after them now. So the Hound screwed up there, but he helped capture the White and then take it back up to King's Landing, or down to King's Landing to make the pitch.
He's still. That's why he's still alive.
I like that. But anyway, the cool thing is the last time Ned and Jon Snow saw each other was when Ned went to King's Landing to become Hand of the King, and then Jon went north to join Castle Black and the Night's Watch. And he asked about his mother, and then Ned said, "The next time I see you, I'll tell you about your mother. I promise."
Oh, I didn't know that.
And Jon Snow found out about his true lineage and his mother in the crypts of Winterfell, right next to the crypt of Ned Stark. So that was the next time they were together. Right. Obviously, he wasn't living, but I thought that kind of gave me chills. I was like yes, because Ned Stark's my guy. So
I don't know how long we're going to do the Game of Thronesian or Thrones'in It Out There, because I don't know nearly as much as you do. I don't know any names. I don't remember anything that's really happened.
Then what are you watching for right now?
I love it. I like it. I'm excited to see how it ends, but it doesn't stay in my brain like the 82 Braves. It just doesn't. I can't remember names, but I try. But I can be a sounding board for you. I think it's more what it's bubbling out of you. I can tell. You need to get on a message board.
I thought that was the coolest part. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't have any crazy theories of what's going to end up happening, but I do ultimately think that once Daenerys finds out that Jon Snow, who's technically Aegon Targaryen, the 6th of his name, King of the Andals, and the First Men.
Is this the Busy Bee exit?
I think so. I don't really know. You're supposed to pay. Is that 283 it said? Yeah, 283, yeah. And I say, yeah. All right, so we're here. When she finds out, what do you mean, no?
I said, oh, yeah, there she is.
There she is. Once she finds that out, then it's really going to push the limits. But maybe the kid will bring them back together if she's pregnant or whatever. Speaking of you not remembering names and stuff, I don't remember names either. We talked about maybe the best knolls from Jacksonville. Our boss took exception with the fact that we didn't mention Leon Washington.
Man, nobody that cares about football is listening to our show anymore right now.
Okay.
But you're correct. We did not. I still would say he is not on par with Leroy Butler. And I love Leon Washington, but Leroy Butler was awesome.
Leroy Butler.
I guess it's Leroy. And him and Bennett, I think, are very comparable. I just think that Leon was not helped by maybe who he was coached by necessarily,
right?
And who he maybe played with, but definitely who he was coached by.
All right, man.
Oh man, it's just like a beacon of freedom on an otherwise nightmare fuel quest back to Tallahassee. Just dark and dank, but then we get the Busy Bee out here like the Taj Mahal. I mean,
check out our Taj Mahals.
Hey, is that what they say?
Yeah.
Really?
The bathrooms here, folks, are so meticulously...
I mean, you want to be in there for 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, we're here. We're done.
We love you guys. Thanks for listening.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.